The film starts by featuring a teenage girl lying in a garden full of flowers. She sees a wolf coming towards her, who transforms into a human. Much to her surprise, the scene shifts to a cute girl studying at a Tokyo National University. She had to do multiple part-time jobs as she was living independently. One day, in class, she saw a man with long hair who was listening to the lecture without a handbook. Later, she follows him and tries to give him the attendance card, but he refuses by saying he is not a student there, then leaves. She watches him helping a young kid that makes her happy. She asks him if he wants to come again so we can share her textbook. Later, we see her working in a dry cleaner shop. On the other hand, the man continues to work at a loading company. The following day, the girl helps the man in sneaking into the library and class of the university, and they end up becoming close friends. On their way back, the man calls the girl Hana and asks her the reason behind her name, to which she replies that her father spotted a flower in their backyard on the day she was born, so he named her Hana, which means flower. She further adds that her father wanted her to keep smiling, that's why she even smiled at her father's funeral, which she regrets very much as her relatives scolded her for it. However, the man tells her that she did the right thing, making her realize that it was a mistake. After all, since that day, they continued to meet up near a coffee shop every night. One day, the man expresses his desire for a home, as he doesn't have one, to which Hana replies that she will welcome him in her tiny house. While leaving, the man tries to say something, but fails to do so because of hesitation. Hana reached the usual meeting spot the next day, but the man was not there. She waited and waited, even though all nearby shops were closed. Suddenly, the man shows up and apologizes to her, which she smiles. The man decides to tell her the truth and asks her to close his eyes. Hana opens her eyes out of curiosity, only to witness him transform into a wolf, much to her surprise. Later that night, Akami asks her whether she's leaving him, to which she refuses, and they end up spending the night together. Hana learns that Akami's parents died early, and he was left alone to live, so he moved into the city to find a job. He further adds that he is the last descendant of Japanese hybrid wolves. The next day, Akami moves into the apartment of Hana, and they begin to live together. Some days later, Hana vomits out of the blue and decides to visit the doctor, only to find that she is pregnant. Akami rushes to meet her and hugs her out of happiness. Hana continues to read books so that she can have a natural birth, while Akami continues to work with even more dedication. In the winter, Hana gives birth to a healthy little girl with the help of Akami. They didn't go to doctor because Hana was worried that her child might be born as a wolf. They named her Yuki because the snow was falling outside on her birth. 1 year later, Hana again became pregnant, while Yuki became 1 year old in spring. She gave birth to a baby boy, and they named it Cam. Because it was raining on that day, Akami left for work on the same rainy day, but didn't return on time, causing Hana to worry about him. She found some food supplies and her husband's wallet outside the house, but he was nowhere to be found. Hana, with her children, leave the house in search of him, only to find him dead in wolf form. He was found in a river under a bridge, and the cause of death was unknown. Soon, Hana's world collapsed. Right in front of her, she tries to get his body back, but all in vain. She couldn't do anything besides crying on the road. Hana opens the wallet at home and finds some savings left by Akami, and also hears her husband's voice for the last time as he tells her to take good care of the children. Hana decides to give her best in raising her children, but she soon finds it no easy task to take care of children who are half wolves. Yuki was too clumsy. She began to run through the house, causing trouble here and there. She even turned into a wolf whenever she was feeling cranky. Hana ends up leaving the part-time job to take care of Yuki and Aim. She also had to research a lot because she didn't know how to raise wolf children. One day, Yuki suddenly became sick, and Hana was confused about whether she should consult a normal doctor or veterinarian. But somehow she managed to resolve the situation. At night, Aim continued to cry without reason, which caused neighbors to lash out at Hana. The howling of Aim and Yuki caused them to suspect that Hana is keeping hidden pets. With this situation in place, Hana decided to leave this place and live in a rural place with fewer people around. They find an abandoned house up in the mountains, and Hana decides to live there. Much to the surprise of the estate advisor, after moving in here, Hana continues to repair the roof of this house and other things to make the house livable. She had to go far away to purchase local items through a cycle, but she managed to do so thanks to her determination. The sudden changing of Yuki and Aim was a concerning matter. Hana used a colorful book to teach them that they should not transform in front of other people since they were running out of savings. Hana began to learn about farming and even planted some vegetables in a nearby field. Yuki was quite bold and clumsy, but Hana was shy and weak. She continues to regret that she should have asked Akami that, how to raise wolf children. Days later, Hana is shocked to find her planted vegetables in a terrible condition due to her limited farming knowledge. Later, she receives some sweet potatoes from a lady living nearby and ends up planting them. While doing so, an old man named Narasaki of the village intervenes and removes the planted potatoes, telling her that she's just going to waste them. Hana begins to cultivate the soil under strict guidance. After working the whole day, he managed to plant them correctly. This time the next day, more people from the village came to help her in farming soon. Hana began to socialize with the villagers, much to her own surprise. On the other hand, Yuki took an interest in school and began to ask Hana to send her to a school. She ends up agreeing in the end. Days later, Hana is pleased to find her harvest successful this time. She even distributed these potatoes to other villagers, who gave her other vegetables in return. Upon learning that Narasaki is also pleased with her success, Hana goes to thank him for his guidance with a smile. At home, Hana looks back to the time when she first came here, and it was very difficult to live here, but now villagers support her, and she's living a peaceful life. Like this winter came, and snow covered all the mountains. Hana and her children began to enjoy the snow for the first time. Aim catches a bird but ends up falling into the river and continues to call for her mother. Hana rushes to save him, but snow proves to be a hurdle in her path. Yuki rushes and saves him from drowning. Hana couldn't express how terrified she was at the moment. At the age of 6, Yuki began attending school in spring. Hana tells her to quote a little poem whenever she feels like turning into a wolf. At first, Yuki was troubled by many other people, but gradually she got used to it to the point where she made several friends. On the other hand, Hana begins attending the Wild Park gender training program. Along with me, she finds a caged wolf and tries to ask him how to raise wolf children, but unfortunately he doesn't answer. Maybe he's just an ordinary wolf. On the other hand, Yuki had trouble adapting to ordinary girls' likings, as she showed them her collection box full of lizards and skulls of little animals, causing them to run away from her in fear. Hana stitched a new cute outfit for Yuki that helped her gain confidence again, begins to attend school, and Yuki begins to guide and help him throughout the school. Hana continues to take sessions at Wild Park. One day, a guy named Sohei Fuji transfers to Yuki's class and soon becomes friends with all the students. He asks Yuki what kind of pet she keeps at her home, because she reeks of fur, to which she replied that she doesn't have a pet at home. This causes Yuki much trouble as she begins to fear what her friends will think other than they find out she's a wolf. She begins to avoid Sohei, but he continues to follow her, asking what's wrong with her. Yuki continues to quote the poem, but she can't get over her emotions transforming her into a wolf. Suddenly she attacks Sohei, much to her dismay, and apologizes to the mother of Sohei, and compels Yuki to do the same. Unable to get calm, Yuki begins to take days off from school, while Sohei continues to bring handouts to her home. On the other hand, Aim leaves the school. He is more interested in the mountain. He introduces Hana to his master, who turns out to be a fox living in the mountain. Aim continues to train under his guidance, hoping to become a full-fledged wolf. One day, at home, Yuki gets into a fight with Aim over the fact that he should join the school, while the Aim continues to tell him that he wants to live as a wolf. Both of them injure each other, much while Hana tries to stop them, but all in vain. Ami reveals his red eyes, indicating he is becoming a wild wolf. Day by day, Hana begged Ami to stop being in the mountains, because it is too dangerous, but he tells her that his master is injured and will soon die, and he has to take his place as a leader. The next day, heavy downpour struck the mountains and village area. The school gives short leaves to students because of rain and calls their parents to pick them up. Just when Hana is about to go pick up Yuki along with Aim, he finds that he is nowhere to be found. He ends up going up the mountains to find him, but ends up slipping on the path and falls unconscious because of injuries. On the other hand, Yuki and Sohei are the only students left. Their parents didn't come to pick them up. Yuki decides to tell Sohei about her real identity and shows him her wolf form. But Sohei is not shocked because he already knew about it. Because of the earlier incident, Sohei promises her that he will not tell anybody about it. The scene shifts to Hana, who experiences a flashback where she reunites with Akami in a flower garden. He praises her for raising his children to the best of her ability. He also tells her that she should let him go as he's found his calling. Moreover, he is already a grown-up and finds his mother unconscious. and carries her all the way to the parking area. Just when he's about to leave, Hana awakens and tells him not to go, as she hasn't done much for him. With wolf form looks back with a worried look, but decides to leave in the end. He runs all the way to the top of the mountains and begins to howl, as loud as possible, telling her mother that he is grateful to her. But now, he's good to walk on his own way. Upon hearing his howl, Hana smiles and leaves. Next year, Yuki moved to live and study in high school, while her mother sent her off with a smile. Several years have passed, and Hana still lives happily in that house. She can hear the howls of aim from her home, as she continues to look at the card picture of her deceased husband Akami. And that's the end of the video as always.